You have the money now, and the strangest thing has happened. You want no one to know. Nobody warned you about this part, that the more zeros arrive, the quieter you get. That real wealth doesn't want a stage. It wants a shadow to stand in. It wants to move through a room and leave no fingerprints. There was no champagne. That's the first lie they sell you and never correct. No confetti, no phone call, no man in a good suit shaking your hand, telling you that you finally made it. The day your account crossed the number you'd chased for 11 years, you were standing in a grocery store, holding 2 bags of coffee, choosing the cheaper one out of pure habit. $4 versus $6. You chose the 4. You didn't even notice the milestone until that night. You checked your phone in the dark, saw the figure glowing there, and you felt something you still can't name. Not pride, not relief, just a quiet click, like a door closing softly in another room. You set the phone down. You went to sleep. And in the morning, you drove the same car to the same place, and the world had rearranged itself completely, and not one person could tell. It started smaller than anyone would believe. Your first dividend was $1.37. You remember it because it was so absurd you almost laughed. A day's work for a stranger, and the machine paid you back the price of nothing. You could have spent it and forgotten it. Instead, you left it there, and you felt that same nameless thing, the feeling with no word for it. Not enough to celebrate, too strange to dismiss. Something in you understood, before your mind did, that you had just been handed the first quiet proof of a law most people never get to see up close. That money, left alone, in the dark, with patience, breeds. So here's what you're wondering now, all these years later. Why does the man with the most money in the room always look the poorest? And whatever happened to the neighbor with the new leased Range Rover every 2 years, the one who used to nod at your old sedan with something like pity? You'll come back to him. Give it time, because the escalation, when it came, was almost boring. That's the part they can't sell in a highlight reel. $1 became 100. 100 became a habit. You bought the boring index fund instead of the story stock everyone at the barbecue swore was going to change their lives. You kept the sedan with 200,000 miles on it and the small dent in the rear door you never bothered to fix. You wore the same gray sweater for 6 winters, the one with the loose thread at the cuff you kept meaning to trim. You watched other people trade up every 18 months, the phone, the car, the kitchen, the version of themselves they wanted strangers to believe in, and you just didn't. And every month, quietly, the number that pays you while you sleep grew a little louder. Until one ordinary Tuesday, it was clearing more than your old salary, for doing nothing, for simply having waited, and no one on your street had the faintest idea. You looked, from the outside, exactly like a man who was getting by, and you had learned to love that disguise. Meanwhile, 3 houses down, the performance went on. The neighbor with the watch he showed you before he showed you his face. The boat he used 4 weekends a year and financed for 60 months. The kitchen renovation announced like a coronation. He wore his money like a man who's afraid it might leave if he stops looking at it. And maybe that was the tell all along. Because you'd started to notice the pattern everywhere. The loudest cars in the school parking lot belonged to the people one late payment from ruin. The heaviest watches sat on the thinnest accounts. He was carrying the costume of wealth. You were quietly carrying the thing itself. One of you needed to be seen. The other had stopped needing it entirely. And the difference between you was not luck, or salary, or some secret nobody told you. The difference was that you had made peace with looking like less, so that one day you could actually be more. But you won't pretend it came free, because there's a specific loneliness they don't put in the books. It arrives the day you realize you can never say the true number out loud. Not to your oldest friend, not to your brother, sometimes not even across your own dinner table. The moment people know, the air changes. You become the wallet, the one they look at differently when the bill comes, when the family emergency comes, when the small favor comes wrapped in an apology and a long story. So you learn to disappear inside your own success. You laugh about being tired. You let them think the vacation was budget, the car is dying, the month was tight. You develop a second language, one made entirely of silence, and you become fluent in it. Because that silence is the wall protecting the one thing you spent your whole life building. And walls, you're learning, keep you safe and keep you alone in exactly equal measure. And then there was the choice, the hard one, the one made out of love, in a room where no one clapped. Someone you loved was drowning in a debt that would have taken them a decade to climb out of. You saw it in their face at a birthday dinner, the way they went quiet when the check came, the way they were doing math behind their eyes. You had the number that could erase it in an afternoon, and you did it, quietly, anonymously, routed through channels so they'd never trace it back to you. You watched the weight lift off their shoulders across the following months, watched the lightness come back into how they laughed, and you watched them believe it was luck, or a clerical mistake, or the mercy of God. And you never corrected them, because the moment they knew it was you, the gift would have become a debt of a different kind, and the love between you would have started keeping score. So you paid twice, once with the money, and once with the silence of never being thanked for the thing you were proudest of ever doing. That's the cost nobody quotes you. Real generosity, the deepest kind, often has to be invisible to stay clean. And your own children? You let them believe you're ordinary. You let them work the summer jobs and worry about the small numbers and feel the useful ache of not having enough. Because you know something the money taught you in the dark. The struggle is the only thing that ever built anyone, including you. Handing them the ending would rob them of their own story before they'd written a single line of it. So you sit on the safety net you spent your life weaving, close enough to catch them if they truly fall, and you let them think they're falling. And some nights, that feels like the hardest lie of all. And some nights, you know it's the truest gift you'll ever give. So come back with me now, to that grocery store, to the coffee, to the man in the dark checking a phone, feeling that quiet click and no word for it. You understand it now, don't you? That feeling had a name all along. It was freedom. Not the freedom to be seen, the freedom to be left alone. The dividend was never really the $1.37. It was this, the ability, one day, to hold everything, and to need no one to notice that you were holding it at all. You spent the first half of your life wanting the world to see you had it, and somewhere along the way it flipped, so slowly you never caught the exact moment, until wanting to be seen felt like the poorest thing a person could carry. The neighbor is gone now, by the way. The house sold in the spring. The boat before that. The costume, it turned out, was rented all along. And you're still here. Still in the gray sweater with the loose thread. Still choosing the $4 coffee over the $6, not because you have to, but because you finally understand that the wanting was never the point. So let me leave you with the only question that ever mattered. If no one ever knew what you were worth, no applause, no envy, no witness at all, would you still have built it? And if the honest answer is yes, then what exactly were you ever chasing?